Man, it feels good to be a Packer fan. The Packers get a flurry of good news that we will go over in this video. If you haven't subscribed, take a second to do that. Let's jump into it. It was last week, Thursday, that we learned Devondre Campbell of the 49ers just decides he is not going to play. Well, today we learned that the Niners have suspended Devondre Campbell to 3 games. So how is this good news for the Packers? Well, we get encouragement that Brian Gutekunst absolutely knows what he is doing at general manager for the Green Bay Packers. He knows when to cut ties and let go of players. Not only does he save $10.5 million by releasing Devondre Campbell, but they save the headache and distraction this dude can absolutely be to a team. Kyle Shanahan had this to say. He says it's not something that you can do to your team or your teammates and still be a part of our team. So the news gets worse for Devondre Campbell because he signed a 1-year, $5 million deal, but the Niners can recoup $3.35 million of that money because of the decisions that this dude has made. So it feels good to be a Packer fan sitting on this side of it saying, wow, we can absolutely see what Brian Gutekunst is doing behind the scenes, how the decisions impact the team in the longevity of it. Okay, so the Packers defensively, we can take a look at Jeff Hafley. Yes, it is his first year as defensive coordinator for the Packers, but you can take a look at this dude. He is dealt a hand of the youngest team in the league to work with. Jeff Hafley, the defense is only getting better as the season progresses, and they looked absolutely good against their win over Seattle. How good are they? Well, let's take a look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Okay, so defensively, you look at yards per game. The Packers currently rank 10th this year. Last year, they were 18th under Joe Barry. Points per game that they allow this year, they are 8th. Last year, they ranked 23rd. Takeaways this year, they rank 4th. Last year under Joe Barry, they were 23rd. Sacks this year, they are 6th. Last year, they were 17th. Rushing yards, we were awful last year stopping the run. We ranked 28th under Joe Barry. This year, we rank 9th. The Green Bay Packers, yes, it hasn't been all rosy all year long. There's times where it feels like we can't stop anything on offense, but the Packers picking up stride at the right time, right before the playoffs. Jeff Hafley absolutely doing a great job there. Let's take a look at the numbers for the Packers. Yes, they come away with a massive win on the road. There was a lot of people saying, man, this Green Bay Packer team, they can't beat good teams. They can't beat a team with a running record. The Packers prove otherwise. They go out and come up with a big win, a 30-13 win on the road. They put up 369 yards of total offense to the 208 they allowed. But you take a look, sacks allowed 7. Since the bye week, the Packers have been winning the penalty category. They tied last week with Detroit. They tied this week against Seattle, but Seattle's numbers just mounted up penalty wise. They had 108 yards of total penalty yards there. So just an awful number for the Seattle Seahawks to try to overcome. But the takeaway category, another category, we have just been winning week after week since the bye week. The Packers win this one 2-1. Josh Jacobs coughed up that fumble, but otherwise the Packers looked really good offensively. Yes, they did struggle a little bit in the second half. Packers, Matt LaFleur addressed that in the media afterwards, saying that, they got to do a better job in the second half and closing out games, not maybe playing so conservative or tight to the hip. Jordan Love, 20 of 27 in this game, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, he has been protecting the ball brilliantly since the bye week. He's only had 1 interception since the bye week. He has 100. He had a passer rating of 123.8. I think since the bye week, he's averaging about like 116 of a passer rating in a QBR of 90.1. Josh Jacobs absolutely getting it done everywhere. He got it done in the air, and then he also got it done with 26 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Who wants to tackle this guy, especially as the later we get in the season? Nobody is going to want to go and tackle this dude who just makes people miss. He does it right here. You can just see the contact. He is a force. And you take a look at what, Brian Gutekunst was able to do bringing this guy in. He is one of the best backs in the league and absolutely having a great time out there for the Packers. And he's statistically putting out the numbers. Christian Watson, I love getting this dude more involved, especially as the Packers approach the playoffs. Getting a guy like Christian Watson, a threat downfield, involved is crucial. And the Packers also recognize that in Jaden Reed, they get him involved. He had 3 carries, 27 yards. He also had 5 receptions for 34 yards. But I love these two guys getting involved. And man, it feels good to get Romeo Dobbs back, just snagging that touchdown pass off the ground. 3 receptions, 40 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This guy is a touchdown target for the Packers. But defensively, it feels so good to get Edgerrin Cooper back. Man, you want to talk about a difference maker this dude has for the Packers. Now, Quay Walker goes out in this injury, which means that Eric Wilson steps up. That's not all bad for the Packers, but as the playoffs approach, you don't want any guys getting hurt. So Quay Walker, his timetable to be determined. We'll see as the week progresses just how severe that injury was. But the Packers, when they traded away Preston Smith, there's another Brian Gutekunst gem, in my opinion. What a good move for him, because it allows guys like Kingsley Enagbare or Brenton Cox Jr. to step up in big ways. We absolutely saw what Enagbare is capable of or able to do. He was everywhere. He had 2 sacks. He had 3 tackles for loss. Again, getting back to just how good Edgerrin Cooper is. He had 7 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, 1 interception. He almost had 2, and 2 passes defense. Edgerrin Cooper is going to be an absolute stud and star in this league. Rashawn Gary, again, the more pressure you can provide on the opposite side, the more this dude is going to get involved. He has been showing up week after week since the bye week. He had a sack in this game. Also, Brenton Cox had a sack. The Packers, again, come up with 7 total sacks in this game. They had 2 takeaways. So the Packers defensively just getting it done. Again, picking up steam at the right time. So the Packers, when you take a look at the playoff picture here as it sits, they knock Seattle out. The Rams get bumped in. Last week, I talked about, man, the Rams are one of those teams that I just don't want to see in the playoffs. As it sits right now, the Packers would be playing Tampa Bay. I would welcome that. I'm totally fine playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, Baker Mayfield did crush us last year, but that was against Joe Barry and their defense. The Packers defense just looks, much improved. Keep in mind, they've been doing this without Jair Alexander. They're only going to get better. The Detroit Lions, as it sits right now, are the number 1 seed. I don't see that happening. Why do I say that? Well, things go from bad to worse in Detroit. They lose Montgomery out indefinitely. McNeil is out for the season. They already lost Hutchinson for the season. But Aleem McNeil suffered a torn ACL. Carlton Davis III suffered a fractured jaw. He's probably out for the season. Khalil Dorsey out for the season with an ankle injury. The injuries keep mounting up. I think that is absolutely a hurdle that this Detroit team just will not be able to overcome. I want you guys to leave your thoughts and let me know your thoughts, but I don't see the Detroit Lions doing that. And as it sits right now, if the Detroit Lions bump to that number 2 seed, that means they're going to play the Washington Commanders, and they absolutely struggle against athletic quarterbacks. So that would be great news for the Packers, them bouncing to a 2 seed and having to play the Commanders. Things are looking absolutely bright as the playoffs approach for the Packers. Leave your comments, and as always, go Pack, go.